Something horrible. Sammy, it's your musical choice. Quick, my darling.
It's by a local band, and by local I mean obviously Newcastle, and they're called Dogtanian. They sent me the CD through the show, and it's the only one I've ever received, and it's really good. My favourite song on the album has swearing in it, but if you're not scared of swearing, try and look up Islam by Dogtanian, but this is electro folk.
She's been seeking out new music. That's Sammy's choice on this week's Steve Show. What was the name of the song again?
It all makes sense now. Electro folk, you see where that came from, and that's by Dogtanian. You'll find them on MySpace, just /Dogtanian, like the cartoon character, and that's off the album The Twiglet Sessions.
Oh, that's lovely. Here's a little, I'm going to play a tune in a sec, but here's a little teaser to keep Brian listening. He's a movie fan, he's a movie man, obviously, and no doubt a movie fan. This is a conundrum for all of you in the studio and you at home listening, okay? What is odd about the 1969 film Krakatoa, East of Java? It's a disaster film. What's odd about the film from 1969, Krakatoa, East of Java? This is like proper DJing, alright? But it's aimed specifically at one multi-billionaire. From their first album, Highland Hard Rain, that's Aztec Camera and Walk Out to Winter. Steve Show, BBC Six Music with me, Steve Merchant. Thanks for listening. We are dedicating the show to film producer Brian Grazer, who is seeking out a cultural attaché at a price of $150,000 a year. Money worth having. Certainly money that we could go berserk with. We could probably buy a pub and just smash it up. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? And you could splash paint around. We could have a tattooist on standby. Dan, you could just sit in the corner having a quiet pint, and on the jukebox, new music for Harry. It would be fantastic.
Everyone's
wouldn't it?
happy.
That would be a dream. Okay, so I asked you just before that tune. I'm trying to keep Brian paying attention. I know he's a busy man. He's probably reading through or having someone read him a hot new movie script. What is odd about the 1969 film Krakatoa, East of Java? Your eyes lit up, Rufus.
I was wondering if it was something to do with the kind of Ray Harryhausen style animation monsters.
No, but a very solid answer. Any thoughts from anyone else?
It's not a funny one, but isn't Krakatoa west of Java?
Only Tiny Dan's got it.
Geography.
College. Yeah.
I am buzzing.
Which seems a very sloppy error, and I think, again, something that a film producer should be wary of.
Surely it could be east or west. Anything can be east or west of anywhere.
It's no, because it's Krakatoa east of. Oh, and if you go all the way around the world the other way, yeah. Well, yeah, but it's still a perverse thing to do, isn't it? Really,
pervert.
I don't know why. Yeah. Everyone point at Harry and accuse him of being a pervert. Ooh, pervert, pedo. It's just so you can see what it's like. Just to keep you on the straight and narrow.
What's Brian going to say?
What is Brian going to say?
Never going to employ him now.
We could cut that bit out for Brian.
All right.
Yeah, Brian's not going to have you in the house. How are you, pervert?
What, has he got kids?
Okay, good. Right, focus. Please focus. It's not a laughing matter. So, Super Posh Rufus, if there's one man that can raise the tone, it's you. And obviously, if there's one guy here who will, as I say, be able to charm Brian, it's you. A man who I suspect, a lot of rich Americans, they're very attracted to British high society, but of course they can never truly be a part of it.
No.
And you're a man, I guess, who could perhaps smooth the way for Brian.
Well, that's a nice way of putting it, Steve. And I like the way you'll turn to me in times of crisis in the studio as well. Everyone's cracking jokes, things are getting suggested that aren't necessarily legal.
Yes.
And I'm very much the firm hand on the rudder.
Yes.
I think sometimes.
Yes.
That's
not. Look, shut up, Jude.
On,
you filth. That's not a euphemism.
Come on.
Where's Sammy?
It's not a euphemism.
Look sharp, team. That worked. Anyway, Steve, I was reminded actually that my poshness is something that I'm frequently in denial of. I know I'm a gentleman of some chivalric standing, but I'm always in denial of my own posh, and I always reserve the right.
Because you are riddled with posh.
I'm riddled with posh, but I like to laugh down my sleeve at people posher than me.
Okay.
And impersonate them.
Yes.
And I was playing football this week, and I was in the changing rooms in South London, and there were these two boys who were both about 19 years old, and they were very smart, much faster than me. It was one of God. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we beat that team. They were so good. And one of them said, I bet there's an El Harrovian on the team. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Which makes me think they're probably from Eton, because Eton and Harrow have this thing going on. I didn't go to either of those schools. I'm not nearly that posh, So they were going, oh my God. And then one of them said, I can't. I'm so unfit. Why am I so unfit? And one of them said, well, it's because you don't really exercise. This morning I went for a ride. He doesn't mean on a bicycle, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't mean on a bicycle. I went for a ride, I went for a run, and I played football. And I thought, I just looking at these guys thinking, they are so, I can't believe it. Put my bag over my shoulder, walked out, and they went, excuse me. And I turned around and they said, you dropped a cufflink.
Oh, fantastic.
So there's me giving it the, I can't believe how posh they are. And then I turn around, what do they want? Oh, yeah, cool, sorry, yeah. And a solid silver cufflink was pressed firmly into my hand.
A solid silver cufflink. Interesting there that even in your attempts to downplay your poshness, you've reminded us it was solid silver. Presumably inherited from perhaps some great uncle who's an earl of something or other.
Something like that.
Your poshness, have we ever queried your poshness? Have we ever according, because what we need really is some kind of Rufus family tree that proves your poshness.
Oh, yeah, I ought to bring something in, really, just to kind of, you know...
Do you have a coat of arms? Does your family have a coat of arms?
Yes. Yeah. But it's a recent coat of arms. Yeah, Jude's got one as well. She's very proud, Jude of hers.
Yeah, but Jude's got it off the internet.
Yeah, she did. But
I'm just going to play another tune, which is your musical choice this week, and then we'll come out and we'll see if you can provide something directly to Brian that can kind of enter Brian straight in the brain.
Yeah.
Care of you.
Yeah.
But what's your musical choice this week?
This actually is also a suggestion from directly from a listener. A guy called Aaron Harton got in contact with me, and it's months since he asked for this tune. So if Aaron, if you're not listening anymore, I'm very sorry, but here it is finally. He always loved the cover thing we used to do, and occasionally still do. And this is a cover of a Bee Gees track by Feist, and it's called Inside and Out.
Thank you. Rufus's choice on today's Steve Show, Feist, and a cover of an old Bee Gees tune. Nothing wrong with that. We'll just play this for a second.
BBC Six Music. On digital, online. BBC Six Music.
Just to keep you abreast of exactly which station you're listening to, in case you are concerned, or maybe you've just tuned in, perhaps turning away from a rival station. Thanks for joining us. We are dedicating the show to Brian Grazer, the billionaire producer of films such as A Beautiful Mind, and I believe he also did The Grinch. So quite a
laugh, should we? We shouldn't really laugh.
We shouldn't laugh.
No.
But he's there's an awful lot of stuff on his plate.
Yes,
he's got an awful impressive CV. Very rich man. But obviously, in previous weeks we have very kindly turned to Rufus, a posh guy, and sought out your advice on matters of how would you describe it? Gentlemanly behaviour and conduct.
Modern etiquette, chivalry, and being a metrosexual and moisturised man.
And I'm keen to sort of cater specifically to Brian's tastes. Very difficult for us to put ourselves in the mindset of a man like that, but I'm wondering if perhaps the listeners could help out. What I need the listeners to do is put themselves into the shoes of Brian. This is a man who has a private plane and can theoretically pay $150,000 a year for someone to be his cultural attaché. And so what sort of etiquette questions might he throw at Rufus? What sort of anxieties could a man like that find in life? He may be at a major Hollywood function. Perhaps J-Lo says, something like, does my bum look big in this? He's confused. He doesn't know what does one say to a polite person, particularly someone like J-Lo, who's famous, of course, for the largeness of her posterior. And it's very difficult there because you've got so many things. Maybe he's trying to get J-Lo in a forthcoming movie, So how does he respond to that? Just off the top of your head there, Rufus, how would he respond to that?
Gosh, to the J-Lo situation.
It's damn her for putting him in that situation.
Yeah, what did she say to him exactly?
J-Lo has done the classic ladies comment of saying, does my bum look big in this? It's very confusing, of course, because she's wearing some tight gold lame hot pants. And she's asking that of Brian. He's trying to recruit her for a new movie. What does he say?
In a way, he'd have to say something like, sweetheart, if it didn't, we'd all be a lot poorer.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's fantastic. That's exactly what Brian would say.
Yeah, with a bit of a cheeky, because what you've told us of Brian, he sounds like he's pulled himself up by the bootstraps.
He has.
He's come from nutting.
Yeah.
So if I think he'd have carte blanche in mind to just chuck out a few bombo whenever he liked. He's a bit cheeky. He's got the money, and the thing is, when people that rich say stuff in Hollywood, people tend to laugh no matter if it's funny or not. Really.
Absolutely right. I would imagine he's got hangers on, very much like my you're very much my hangers on.
Yeah.
Think of me as Brian in this situation. Any other kind of examples you could give that perhaps people can use to get in the mindset of Brian?
I'd also say that the bad news for Brian, in a way, is that being essentially a very rich man is a quite vulgar position to be in. Also, working hard is rather ungentlemanly. He's obviously done that his entire life. Being a gentleman is often just to be about rather sedentary and idle. And also, Americans themselves, I know we've got a lot of American listeners, no offence, are sometimes seen as culturally vapid or lacking, which isn't necessarily true. But he's got an uphill struggle ahead of him.
Sure.
What I'd say, the good news is,
okay,
I'd say that he has the financial opportunity there's a great art opening in Seville. You know, should check in. I'm going to go on Saturday. You know, Manchester United are playing well. I'm going to go and see them on Friday. You know, I'm going to fly over to London, to Manchester. But I think that he should maybe throw his wealth open to the masses. Have site-specific theatre companies coming into his massive Hollywood mansion, and also not to forget the indulgence of things like being read to. Which is something that not many grown-ups do to each other. But if I was rich enough to say, you know what, I'm going to spend Tuesday afternoon having you read to me from Swallows and Amazons. It would be wonderful.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But although I think you've given us a wonderful idea there for what Brian might do, and certainly let's hope when Brian hears this that he will take on board some of what you've said.
Yeah.
I'm very much keen to get questions from the listener that they feel Brian might indeed be concerned with if he need, because as you say, he's come up from nothing.
Yeah.
He's probably still got a bit of grit in his blood.
Yeah.
If he's confronted with someone from the upper echelons of English society, how does he behave? What might those queries and conundrums be?
Yes.
What dilemmas might a super rich person have that you, Super Posh Rufus, can help him with? 64046 on the text if you have a query. Stephen.6music@bbc.co.uk. Get in touch, let us know, and we see, as I say, this show entirely catered to Brian. One of the things, of course, on Brian's request for his cultural attaché was to meet interesting people, and sadly we've already booked someone as a phone guest today. So we're going to have to just see if we can make him into someone that Brian might be interested in, and we'll come to him shortly. But Harry, it's time for a musical choice from you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. This week...
Oh, no, is it? Yes, we may as well be. Yeah,
May as well, mightn't we? It's going to be good. Yeah. So, this is a track by a guy called Mark Sultan. A couple of weeks ago, I played a band called King Khan and the Shrines. Mark Sultan is a oft collaborator with King Khan. They're both from kind of like this Canadian garage scene, which is getting absolutely no publicity, but I think it's great. And this track is called Something Wrong.
Thank you. Harry's choice on the Steve Show, and what was that, Harry?
Yeah, that was Mark Sultan with a track called Something Wrong off his album The Sultanic Verses.
Thank you very
which
much.
was out last year. Now, we've had an email from physician friend of the show, Dr. Tim, who's got a view on this particle collision thing. And he says that the dilemma faced by colliding particles together in a particle accelerator is not so much destroying our universe, where the chances are very small, as creating a new universe in another dimension, which he feels the chances are higher, which is morally and ethically worse. Destroying our own universe or creating a new one where possibly Hitler wins the war, Brian Grazer's feral qualities are deemed unsuitable for him to produce Splash, and Westlife are considered more influential than the Beatles. Ooh. What a legacy.
A world without Splash.
A world without Splash.
Imagine such a thing. And Hitler's won the war. But a world without Splash. Come on. I mean, they launched the entire career of Tom Hanks.
And Hannah. Yeah.
And we can do with that.
Not John Hannah.
Exactly. That is a terrifying thought. I quite like the idea of an alternative universe.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Perhaps
Have you thought it through? Or you just quite like the idea of it?
Have I thought it through? What do you think? I'm a DJ, for God's sake. We don't think things through. That's not how we operate.
Okay.
It's not how we roll. Let me just think it through really quickly. Yeah. It's a world where I'm perhaps not as tall. Fascinating.
And I'm taller.
And you're taller. And maybe it's a world where I won the war. I launched a horrific war and then won, and I'm the king of all things.
Yes.
Just have a little think about that. Yeah, that's good. It's interesting. Okay, so we've got a bit more music to squeeze in, and then we've got a guest, and I'm very pleased to say that Richard Herring is going to join us on the line. And as I say, whether or not he'll be of use or interest to Brian, we shall find out shortly, but we'll have a trial. Then we've got some music from The Knife. The Knife, of course, and Heartbeat. Steve Show, BBC Six Music with me, Steve Merchant. Thanks for listening. Here with my little gang of whatnots, and also obviously dedicating the show to Brian Grazer, millionaire film producer, who is seeking out a cultural attaché, very much a job that we have appointed for ourselves. And one of the requests in Brian's email was he needed to be introduced to interesting people every week. Astronauts, the Dalai Lama, anyone like that he thought might be interesting. And we already had this booking, so let's hope that Richard Herring will be sufficiently interesting for Brian. The great thing about you, Richard, is you are very much a Renaissance man.
I'm